This video is sponsored by Squarespace. From websites and online stores to marketing tools and analytics, build your online presence with Squarespace.
Hey everyone, Ace of Clay here. Welcome back to my channel and welcome to the 6th episode of Sculpt This, where I turn a subscriber's illustration into a sculpture. In today's video, I will be sculpting this amazing illustration submitted by @theunnatural20 on Instagram. It is of this really cool cactus goblin. If you would like a chance for me to sculpt your artwork in a future episode of Sculpt This, just share it to Instagram, Facebook, or Twitter with the hashtag #SculptThisAceOfClay. And then before we get started, if you like my channel, be sure to hit that subscribe button and then turn your notifications on so that you know every time I upload a new video. Now without further ado, let's sculpt this. Alright, before we get started, let's take another look at that illustration. This is Shank. Like I mentioned earlier, he is a cactus goblin, and he is a D&D character. For the first step, we're going to take some of that thicker aluminum wire that I got from Michaels, and we're going to shape out his feet, legs, and shoulders. And as always, all of the materials and tools that I use in this video are listed in the description box below, along with my affiliate links if you want to purchase anything. Now I'm just attaching the arms with some floral wire, making sure he stands, and now we're going to bulk out the torso with some aluminum foil. And then once that foil is on, we're just going to cover everything in some Sculpey Ultralight. And the reason I'm adding the Ultralight is because it reinforces the armature and gives me a nice base to add my final layer of clay to. And another thing that I like about Ultralight is that you can add it in pretty thick layers and not worry about it cracking in the oven, which is exactly what I'm doing with his legs right here. Then once we got the general shape of his body pretty nicely roughed out, it's time to bake this. And then once it's baked and completely cooled down, it's time to add some Super Sculpey Original. To get these nice even sheets, I ran it through my pasta maker on the thickest setting. And we're just going to speed through this step really quick. If you want to see a more detailed process of adding the clay, check out any of my other videos. And once everything is covered in Super Sculpey, we're going to start adding the claws to the feet. Then I'm going to go in and add some knuckles and then blend these in with my firm detail tool. And then it looks like he's got these like ripped sock things on, correct me if I'm wrong, but to make the wrinkles in those, I'm just adding some snakes of clay and blending those in too. Once all the wrinkles are on, I'm just going to create the ripped end of the sock with this nice flat snake of clay. Oh no, first casualty. Alright, let's try that again. And let's speed it up now. Then before we add this ripped edge, I just want to put some grooves onto the nails really quick using my pin tool. Then we're going to grab our edge, place it where we want, and then blend the top edge in with the rest of the sock. And there we go, got a ripped sock. Then once that's on, I'm going to take my Explorer tool to create some lines going vertically up the sock, just like the illustration. And we're going to repeat this process on the top of the sock. After finishing the other foot off camera, it's time to add the pants, or the shorts. And once those pant legs are on, it's time to do the top of the pants. And this is just another piece of clay. I'm just adding it like so and blending the bottom edge in with everything else. And now it looks like he's wearing pants. And I made that a little too low, so I'm just adding another strip up top to make them a little higher. Now it's time for the outer layer of pants. Then using a ball of clay and my large ball stylus, I'm going to give him that big button and then use my Explorer tool to create some seams. And then I'm going to go up his torso to create some more lines and sort of give the illusion of ribs on a cactus, just like the illustration. And then we're going to give him his little vest. Now for the fun part, adding all those little spines. I pre-baked these. These are just pieces of Primo that I rolled into cone shapes, and I'm just poking them into the surface. Now we're going to brush the entire surface with clay softener to remove fingerprints and get this thing in the oven. And then once he's baked and completely cooled down, I forgot to make the log that he's holding. I should have made this earlier and then baked it with him, but oh well, what you gonna do? So we're gonna make the log now. I just rolled out a thick snake of clay and I'm carving the tip with my broken palette knife. And then I'm gonna use my Explorer tool to create a sort of bark or wood grain texture on the side. Then we're gonna bake it. Alright, we get it. Bake it. For the next step, we're going to make his arm. This is just a snake of clay, and I'm going to use my broken palette knife to cut a slit down the middle, and this is just making it easier for me to attach it to the armature. Now once the arm is at a good point, it's time to add some bumpy cactus texture here and there. And now it's time to make his hand, and I left all of the footage in for this so you can see exactly how I make my hands. Now I'm going to go in and press in some fingernails. And then for the last step on the hand, I'm just going to go in with my Explorer tool and create some more lines. And before I stick it on, I just want to pre-poke that hole with my pin tool really quick so I'm not jamming the hand onto the armature. Add a little bit of Bacon Bond, and then add it like that. And then blend it into the forearm. And we're going to create some more lines or ribs with my Explorer tool. Just go up the arm. And now it's time to add some more spines. And I'm using my fancy tweezers from Excel Blades just to make sure I don't crush everything with my gigantic fingers as I'm inserting them. And there we go. Now we're just going to finish off that other arm that I made off camera and add some more of those spines. Alright, once the body's looking pretty good, it's time to start the head. After covering the foiled base of the head with some Super Sculpey, I'm going to add a jaw. This is just another piece of clay, and I'm going to blend it into the rest of the head. And this process makes this thing look like crap. Like, it looks like absolute garbage throughout this whole step, so just bear with me. It does eventually look like the drawing, I promise. So I'm just using my spoon tool here to blend that jaw in like so. And then because this guy has an open mouth, I have to make sure that I color the inside of the mouth before I add the teeth, so I'm just going to do that with some colored clay. If I don't do this, there's no way I'm going to be able to fit a paintbrush behind the teeth. So this makes it much easier. And then we're going to add his tongue as well with some pink clay. Now I'm going to go in and make his upper lip, blend that in, and then start carving out his eyes. Now I'm going to go in and create some lower eyelids because he's kind of smiling, so these go over his eyes a little bit. And then we're going to do the upper eyelid next, like that. And we're going to do the same thing on the other eye. When everything's looking pretty good, it's time to add the nose. Then to finish off the nose, I'm going to go in with my wedge color shaper and create some little grooves to match the illustration. And then looking at the illustration again, it looks like his head is a little asymmetrical, so I'm just going to build up the one side a little bit and then start adding some more like cactus crowns and texture to the top of that to match the illustration. His forehead is pretty bumpy looking. And now it's time to add his teeth, but before I do this, I'm going to brush on some Bacon Bond for added reinforcement, and then I am sculpting the teeth and sticking them on. Normally I would pre-bake the teeth, but I was kind of lazy this time around, so I just made them out of clay like I would anything else, and it worked out okay. If I absolutely needed to pre-bake them, I would have, but I got away with it this time. So you don't always have to pre-bake your teeth, but it does make it easier. Now I'm going to finish off the mouth with a nice snake of clay to create the final bottom and top lips. And we're just going to give him some little cheeks and sort of smile lines. And now it's time for the ears. I'm just shaping out the ears on my fingertips, and most of the footage is blurry and out of frame, so I apologize for that. Here's me adding the first ear, and then it's the same scenario with the second ear. I don't know what happened, but this is all I got for you. Now we're going to go in and add some more spines to his head, but not before we go in and create some more lines with my Explorer tool. Like that. And now it's time to add the spines. And then for a final touch, we're going to add some little flowers, just like the illustration. Now we're going to brush the entire surface with some clay softener to remove fingerprints and get him ready for another bake. And then I do attach the head and create his neck off camera. Then once he's baked and completely cooled down and the neck is on and he's looking good, it's time for paint. All of the paints that I use in this video are Folk Art brand matte acrylics. We're going to start with his skin, which is green, and I am using some grass green mixed with black and brown to create this nice sort of dull green color. Then once that first layer of green is on and dry, I'm going to go in with a wash of darker green just to get into all those nooks and crannies and add a little more dimension. Then once everything is dry again, I'm going to go in with some lighter green, which is my base green that I used mixed with a little bit of yellow bright and warm white. And I'm just going on to all of the raised areas, dry brushing this on. And then I get a lot of questions about dry brushing as it pertains to painting a sculpture and like what is it? Well, essentially it's just swiftly brushing your paintbrush over the sculpture so that it only hits the raised areas. And to do this, just saturate your brush in paint and then wipe off as much as possible on a paper towel or other surface, and then start brushing it onto your sculpt. But build your way up to the intensity that you want. If you start too heavy, you're going to screw everything up, so just do a little bit at a time. You can always add more. It is way easier to add more than to take away. To take away, you essentially have to like repaint your sculpture. Now on to the pants. And for the eyes, I'm using the color Lemon Custard. And don't forget to speed up the drying time on your sculpture. You can always use a blow dryer. Now for the teeth, to create this color, I mixed some lemon custard with warm white and brown. And then to finish off the teeth, I'm adding some details with a very fine paintbrush, and this is some watered down dark brown. Now we're painting his claws on his feet and those ripped sock things. And then I'm dry brushing some glazed carrots on the tips of the claws just to give him a little gradient there. Then we're going to paint that log. And now it's time to paint all those tiny little spines. This process took me like an hour and a half, and I did most of it off camera. And he's done! The Cactus Goblin is complete. Sculpt This Episode 6 is complete. Let me know what you think in the comments. Thank you so much again to @theunnatural20 on Instagram for letting me sculpt your illustration. You are so talented. I personally think this is the best sculpture I've made in a while, so let me know your thoughts again in the comments, and then be sure to like and subscribe. And that's a wrap. I really hope you enjoyed this episode of Sculpt This and you like how the cactus goblin came out. Thank you so much at the Unnatural 20 for letting me sculpt this. And then before we close out, I just want to talk about our sponsor, Squarespace. Whether you're just getting started or you're an established brand, the Squarespace commerce platform supports the way you do business. Whether you're looking to sell products directly or even bill for your services, they've got you covered. For me personally, I love Squarespace for their portfolios. I'm constantly updating my website with more photos of my work, and I love how customizable the galleries are. And I also want to mention their amazing email support team that is available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. They're an actual team in an office that will typically respond to your questions within an hour. So with all that said, head on over to squarespace.com to start your free trial, and then when you're ready to launch, go to squarespace.com/aceofclay to get 10% off your first purchase. And as always, thank you so much for watching and being here. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and then follow me on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter at aceofclay. I'm also on TikTok, so check that out, and I will see you in the next video.